Hello there. Once again, it is time to take another revealing peek back into history.
What famous date shall I set it to today?
Thank you for joining us on this throwback episode of Vicis Interimo, the awesome podcast with the unpronounceable name. Since we've been doing this for well over a decade now, looking back at these shows is kind of fun, seeing what's happened in the world of horror and what happened in the world in general back then. But before we get into the show, I'd like to thank our current patrons at Lonely Bob, Big Al V, and Goldafish. And one other reminder, and that is any links or things you may hear mentioned in the show may no longer exist or be clickable. Be that as it may, I hope you enjoy the show.
He's been in a lot of shorts, I see. That sounded funny. Sorry.
Okay.
Get out of those shorts.
Welcome to Vicis Interimo, 30 Minutes to Kill. I'm your host, Michael Mad Saxon Jones, with my lovely wife, Lori. This episode is 130. We're going to do a review on Abraham Lincoln versus zombies. But first, we're going to have a brief laid to rest, and then we'll go on to our movie review and garbage in, garbage out, where we talk about anything that we've watched over the last couple of weeks. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, you weren't saying anything.
I'm just listening to you go on.
Okay. Well, let's go on and get on with the show.
Okay.
As opposed to laid to rest being about anything from last week's show, I just want to say a huge thank you. Well, first of all, we get things from listeners occasionally, and we always seem to get some of the, well, I can't say always, but we often get the best stuff from Darren. Darren K. from Vegas sent us an awesome package. I don't know, well, I had talked to him about a project that I have mentioned a while back, and I haven't talked about it on the air because I really want it to be done and in place before that appears on the webpage. But at any rate, he sent us a lot of props and things that are going to go towards that, and I really appreciate it. So again, a tremendous thank you to Darren. Sorry about not getting back to you sooner and letting you know when we got it, but we definitely got it. Definitely thought it was cool. And I'm almost...
You don't want to say what it is for the listeners that have no idea what you're talking about?
No, I don't. I want it to be a surprise.
Oh, all right.
Well, it's Miskatonic stuff.
Okay.
What?
Well, I was going to say, I just want to tell Darren that I love the library card. That's my favorite.
Okay.
I'm going to have mine laminated so I can carry it with me.
All right. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll shoot a photo of it and we can we'll put it up on the page later on the Facebook page or maybe even the web page.
Oh yeah, we have to shoot photos of all this stuff. Are you kidding?
Yes, definitely. So
thank you, Darren.
Again, a huge thank you. And really, I think that's probably it as far as laid to rest or anything to take care of. I think we can get right into our review of Abraham Lincoln versus zombies.
I think so.
Okay, let's go.
I don't even remember what we did last time.
Diary of Ellen Rimbauer.
Oh, that's why. Stop pointing at me. I'll have to turn off your video thingy so I don't have to look at you. Okay, so this last week we watched Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies. And here we go. It's a 2012 movie, not rated, 96 minutes. Not to be confused with the big screen vampire hunting mashup, this direct-to-video horror flick has the Great Emancipator battling to save the Union from an attacking horde of Confederate zombies. There you go.
That was it, huh?
That was it.
All right. Well, what?
That's it in a nutshell.
Okay. What did you think about it? Was it a good story? Was it?
Overall, I liked it.
Okay.
Yeah. It had my kind of zombies in it.
Oh.
Since zombies don't run, yeah, I liked them. Well, they ran if you disturbed them too much. Then they just kind of got pissed and came after you.
That's true.
But, I like my zombies very dead and, kind of unaware of their surroundings unless you disturb them. And I like them kind of lumbering around.
Okay.
Kind of the classic zombie,
Right.
But, it was funny because I read a lot of reviews where people complained about that. Because people, we're used to seeing the really super fast, strong, you're going to die no matter what because you're not even going to be able to outrun it type zombie. But this was, I liked this. It was kind of fun because it was, you had a chance against these things.
Well, I had fun with it up to a point. It wasn't, on some levels, it wasn't all that I hoped it would be, but on other levels, I was pleasantly surprised. I appreciated where the writer was going with the story,
Okay.
but it kind of slowed down at certain parts and kind of took a circuitous route to get there.
Yes, it absolutely did.
Now,
because I was going to say that. I guess I jumped right into just talking about the zombies, but yeah, story-wise, I kind of like, there was a lot of history there, a lot of tie-ins of different historical people and events, and so that made it kind of fun and interesting. But yeah, I do think it was a bit slow.
and
Took a while to get to where it was going.
Yeah, for me, it suffered from that big screen, big movie on a small screen thing. You're talking about the zombies and so on, even with the actors, it felt like some of them were holding back for their performance. I mean, I don't know about everybody that was in there, but I'm assuming that lots of them were extras and they felt a little hesitant as far as the zombies. Like, aside from them being slow-moving zombies, they couldn't use the full range of motion, it felt like, because they were trying to stay on screen.
Right.
Sometimes. So I noticed a few little things like this, and so that just kind of...
Yeah, there was a lot of little issues that you just kind of had to overlook.
Yes.
I guess we could say this is an Asylum film, which I don't mean anything by that. But a lot of people agree that their films are getting better and better and that this is probably their best so far.
I think so, yeah.
But in the past, we've watched Asylum films, and I've had issues with little editing problems and things, and I had the same sorts of problems with this one, but I very easily overlooked them, though, except for that one I made you roll back because I know I saw a car drive by. A car went down the street in the middle of a scene. Okay, this is a period piece, people. There are no cars on the streets, and we saw vehicles driving.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, no, that just goes, All right, who missed that? Fire the editor, seriously.
There is that. That's true.
But all of that aside, though, I was still able to enjoy it, and I love Bill Oberst Jr. and he was great.
Well,
he has he's played historical characters before. He's done a lot of stage, and he was just so in his element. He was wonderful.
Yes, that's one of the things that I was going to mention, regardless of all the other movie. And, since we're picking apart a few things that we didn't like, it doesn't mean that we didn't like the movie overall, but by far the absolute standout performance, as it should be, was Bill Oberst Jr. in this as Lincoln.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely riveting. Anytime he came on screen, almost didn't matter what was going on. Like, he made the scene for me every time.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
I agree.
That was...
What did you think of the story, them bringing in a lost love of his, and now she's a prostitute, and, he still has feelings for this woman. How did you feel about all of that?
I was okay with it. I'm not 100% sure how historically accurate that may have been. It may be, right. Maybe the guy did his research and knows...
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, I'm assuming lots of people know more about this than I do. But, so that maybe Was it some of the lines that people were given, though, were kind of stretched, I felt, as far as
I think so.
Some of the lines that wound up in the Gettysburg Address and what have you, those maybe were a little far-fetched as where some lines were dropped, but I appreciated it. That's what I was talking about early on, that I appreciated what the writer was trying to do. I think they did a fair job in directing it and executing it, but yeah, I just no other but. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, what did you think of, so some of the other actors? We talked briefly. For some reason, I kind of liked the actor who played Mr. Chamberlain. What kind of happened there was that Lincoln was, he goes into the, Confederate fort and he takes with him 12 Secret Service agents.
Yep, newly established Secret Service.
Yeah. So, some of them were hits and some were misses, but I liked Mr. Chamberlain. I thought he did a really good job with his acting.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked once they got there and they met some of the Confederate soldiers, and of course General Stonewall Jackson was there.
And what I appreciated about...
The bad beard. Sorry. Bad beard.
Well,
Fire the makeup people. It was a bad beard. It was a good beard. It was a long beard. I liked it, but how it was stuck on his face, bad beard. And Mr. Garrett. Mr. Garrett, I thought, next to Bill Oberst Jr., I think the actor who played Mr. Garrett. But why don't we have these people's names? How sad. Just Mr. Garrett, know. Yeah. I thought he was probably one of the better actors as well, and he had a really bad fake mustache.
Yeah, it was really, really bad, and that's too bad because those little points took away from it.
That in the car,
which could have really set this apart as really, hitting one out of the park and stuff. We've said that the Asylum Pictures have improved, or the ones that we've seen right now. So this was pretty darn good, but these little things were all kind of detractors from it. We
just had to kind of go with it.
Yeah.
But now here's the problem, though, because a lot of times with stuff like that, it turns into a movie that's so bad it's good, and a lot of people complain that's not what this is. Like, it was good enough where it was almost there, but so the bad parts about it just were kind of annoying.
Made it fall short then.
Yeah, it wasn't a so bad it's good because it wasn't so bad.
Okay.
It was good with a couple little quirky, funky things that made you go, oh, man.
Definitely. And one of the things that I was starting to say, though, was you were talking about Stonewall Jackson there with the bad beard. What I appreciated about the writing, though, was they still tried to capture the respect that people would treat each other with during this era.
Yeah.
Our society has become so casual in the way that we interact with each other. It's just assumed that you just go up and you start talking to somebody and, you could approach them in just about any way. It was interesting seeing on screen these people portrayed gentlemen, even though they were in extreme circumstances, but they still had other issues that they were, and I'm not saying I want to necessarily go back to that, but I appreciated the writer putting that in there.
Yes.
As opposed to just slapping together a period piece and just trying to cash in on the Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and just doing a sloppy story. It seemed like they really, did go the extra mile.
Absolutely.
To put this together. And so I appreciated that.
Yeah. I think they did a good job.
When it comes, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there were still just some little problems with the effects and the sets and things. Mm-hmm. Some scenes looked really good and were really believable as period piece. But then some of the indoor scenes, they were too, neat and clean. I think we both noticed that.
Right. That was a complaint. Well,
the prison, they had a room there that they were, calling the prison, and they had a zombie locked up in there, and the guy was chained to the wall, and it was brand new, polished wood walls. It was beautiful. It looked like a room no one had ever even been in before. And that was supposed to be the prison.
Right.
So there were little things like that were funky, but
you just go with it. And
you go with it. Yeah.
So as far as a rating on this one, what would you give it?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Come on, you can do it.
Not really.
Do it.
No. I would recommend it. definitely to people who enjoy, smaller budget films, independent film, I would absolutely recommend it. I mean, if nothing more for Bill's performance and for, wow, there was so many decapitations. I was going to say, for all the fun zombie killing action. I don't know about the CG blood was kind of funny.
Right.
Because somebody's head would get lopped off and there'd be this crazy CG blood spray out and then like all of a sudden it would kind of flicker on there again. Like it was like they had a few computer issues or something. That one, I remember the blood fell to the ground and then all of a sudden a few more little bits of blood fly across the sky and it's like, where'd that come from? Like some of it was kind of funky, but it was fun though.
And what did you think about, we haven't talked about Abe's weapon.
Oh, I love his weapon.
That was kind of cool. I appreciate that
like
too.
a swing blade scythe kind of thing. He just whips it out and yeah.
Yeah, it goes to town.
Whenever he needs it. Yeah, that was kind of awesome. And by the way, the actor who played Mr. Garrett is Christopher Marone.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention that. I looked him up just now.
Okay.
And he's
have we seen him in anything else?
He's been in a few things. He's been in a lot of shorts, I see. That sounded funny. Sorry.
Okay.
Stay out of those shorts. He's been in a TV movie called Field of Vision, and then lots of shorts. But looks like he's in a few things that are coming up. He's got a few things in post-production. So
cool.
Yeah, he's one to watch. I think I liked him.
Okay. Well, before we get too far, what was your number?
That's annoying.
Isn't it though?
Yeah. For the horror fan that likes things well done and doesn't like seeing bad facial hair and cars driving by, I would probably give it a 5.
Okay.
For someone who enjoys all of that sort of stuff, who likes independent, lower budget films and doesn't mind the bad mustaches and funky little things that go wrong in editing mistakes, this is really a great one. So I would probably put it more in the 7 or 8 range.
Okay, well that's what I would give it for a rating, just a 7, and with the caveat that it can be slow. So if you're looking for action-packed zombie action, this isn't necessarily it.
No, if you're a history buff and you know a little bit about what happened and you know who Teddy Roosevelt is and Stonewall Jackson and are familiar with Abe and the war, there's some funny little lines in there for you. If you could care less about history or sitting there listening to Abe deliver his speeches and stuff, which those were like the best parts. If you don't like history and stuff, I wouldn't recommend it.
Give it a pass. Okay. Well, any final thoughts about it?
I don't think so.
All right. Let's move on to garbage in, garbage out.
Okay.
The world is spinning too fast. I'm on that Nike shoes to keep myself tethered to the days.
For garbage in, garbage out, we've got a couple of movies to talk about briefly. Okay. Let's start with Relentless. Tell me about Relentless.
That was the one with Judd Nelson.
That is correct.
I love Judd Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little disappointed though.
Were you?
Yeah. I mean, it was a kind of a typical 80s. It had that whole 80s feeling going on, which I appreciated. But I don't know, it was a little slow or just kind of, I don't know.
Well, it was a little bit of a disappointment for me. I remember being a fan of it when I first saw it.
Yeah, well, it was the 80s.
Well, it was the late 80s or early 90s, yeah. And big fan of Judd Nelson in there, so...
yeah.
It just kind of left me a little bit, I enjoyed it for nostalgia factor this time.
Okay.
The first time I'd ever encountered or thought of the idea of suicide by cop.
Uh-huh.
Which has been popular since then, for
right.
All too real. But anyhow, for this movie and stuff, that was it. So
yeah, well, I didn't have the nostalgia factor because I'd never seen it before, so it was just kind of yawn for me. I'm sorry. I love you, Judd Nelson.
Okay.
But it was not, it was just not, not there for me.
Okay. Hanna. What do you think of Hanna?
That one I enjoyed a lot more.
You did?
I did.
I didn't think you did. You didn't, I don't know. I wasn't sure how.
I wasn't jumping up and down?
Yeah.
I was on the inside. I think I was tired.
Okay.
I've spent the last 2 weeks back and forth of sort of getting sick and then recovering, and man, the last 2 weeks are a fuzzy blur. But I remember I was pretty tired that night. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
Okay. It was a little missing. It was a little lacking for me. I'm not sure what was wrong with it. It might have been.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I did.
Action and assassins and shooting and fighting and.
It did, but it was just like it should have been.
Were you not buying that a little girl would have the abilities she had to?
I almost did, because
we learned though that she was genetically enhanced.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, it did make sense, and it was okay. It was missing a little something. I wanted, you know what I think I wanted?
What?
I wanted to see more of somebody else in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who? Not Cate Blanchett.
Of course.
Okay, well, she was so creepy and weird in there. I love her, but she was horrible. I was like, ew, her obsessive toothbrushing and stuff was freaking me out.
I wanted to see more of her in there because I enjoyed seeing her in that role because it's something we haven't seen her in before.
It was so out of control. Yeah, it was such a weird role for me to see her in.
Yeah.
It was a weird role for her, for me. I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, it was crazy. But, yeah, I would totally recommend the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one other thing,
if you like action, action assassin movies, it's, totally.
Okay. One other thing to talk about before we sign off here, and that is your birthday.
Yes.
Where did we go?
We went to Not Scary Farm.
Yes, the 40th anniversary Not Scary Farm. We try to go every year. I think we actually missed last year, but.
Yes, I had to be reminded of that, which is nuts because I've been going ever since like 1986, I think, when I was in high school.
Wow.
And I loved it so much. My cousin took me. I had so much fun. I've not ever missed, but we missed it one year when we were living up north.
Yeah.
And so I always thought that was the 1 year I missed it in the last, 20 years. But yeah, Brian reminded me we didn't go last year, but I was, oh my gosh, I was deep in my schoolwork, and I remember now, that was a really hard semester for me, and all I remember is school. Like Thanksgiving came and went, and Halloween came and went, and I don't remember my birthday, and yeah.
Well, luckily we were able to go this year and really enjoyed it. We went early in the season here, and there wasn't a lot of people, and it was great because we didn't get rushed and pushed through the mazes, and I actually found my mind not necessarily wandering, but I was able to spend time and enjoy the scenes and take it all in. They kind of gave everything a new coat of paint and kind of upgraded it. So.
And let's just really briefly, since I mean we're from around here, so we know what we're talking about. But Not Scary Farm is actually, it's an amusement park that's called Knott's Berry Farm that's been here for years and years and years. So it's open all year round. It's an amusement park. But yes, for the month of October, and actually they've started opening late September, which is awesome for my birthday.
Yeah.
Yes, they close it up at night. It's just the Halloween haunt, and there's usually 6 or 7 or 8 mazes to go through, lots of monsters around the park. The park's kept dark, lots of,
lots of fog machines.
Piped in fog and ambient music and scary stuff. The whole park is just a lot of fun. And there's shows.
And there's some shows, and we put a little bit of that up and got to see Dr. Odd and Zamora, the Torture King.
Yes.
And, we'll put more of that on the page and stuff. But anyhow, all in all, definitely a fun weekend.
Definitely.
So thanks again for that, Brian.
Yes, thank you, Brian. And that was part of the reason why we didn't do last week's podcast. Too much birthday.
Too much birthday partying.
Too much birthday. My birthday was like midweek, and it just dragged on all through the whole entire weekend. So, which makes it sound terrible. Dragged on and on. We went out of town to my sister's, and I ate so much cake I thought I would die, but died because there wasn't enough.
Oh, no. Well, at any rate, anything else for this week's show?
Just that Fringe is back, and if you are not watching Fringe, what is wrong with you? Go back and don't start watching it now. It's in the final season. Don't start anywhere in the middle. Go back to the beginning.
And watch.
And yes, get your hands on them and watch them. Watch them. Watch them.
Definitely.
Final season. I am so sad.
So, again, as always, you can find us at lapodcasters.com. You can find us as part of the Horophilia network of podcasts. You can find us on iTunes. Look us up on Twitter. That's Mad Saxon on Twitter. And actually, you can email us directly, madsaxon, MADSAXXON @yahoo.com. Look up Vicis Interimo on Facebook. Punch in VICISINTERIMO. You can find our page dedicated to the podcast there. Be sure and like us. And
what if they don't?
Well, if they don't like us, they can just click the button and then go away.
Just pretend they like us?
Pretend they like us.
Click it anyway?
Click it anyway, tell a friend, and go from there.
Okay.
All right. Well, anyhow, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. We're just not even going to mention Crawling Chaos, are we? We're just going to act like people aren't going to notice.
Shh, nobody's going to notice. Did you have something?
Not really.
Well, then we'll...
I did see something kind of cool, though, online, but...
Oh. Well, then do we tell them to stay tuned for Crawling Chaos?
I have no idea. It just might not be that interesting. It was a cool picture I saw, though, in Lithuania, and it's called the Hill of Crosses.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, tell me about that.
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. I'll give you a second to find it.
Well, the Hill of Crosses is a site of pilgrimage about, I think, 12 kilometers north of the city of, a city I can't pronounce.
Okay.
In northern Lithuania.
Uh-huh.
But, the origin of the practice of leaving crosses on the hill is uncertain, but they think the first crosses were placed there in 1831 after an uprising. But anyway, over centuries, I guess, I'm looking at this on, there's a few different websites, and it was like somebody wrote a really awesome bit on it and posted photos. And then Wikipedia and about 20 other sites all just cut and pasted what this other person wrote. So no matter where you go, you're going to see the same explanation. But anyway, it says that over the centuries, not just crosses, but crucifixes and carvings of Lithuanian patriots and statues, of course, of the Virgin Mary and thousands of tiny effigies and rosaries. They are all brought there by Catholic pilgrims. And they don't know how many exactly are there, because you can't even get in there to count them, even if you wanted to. You'd have to walk on them.
Wow.
I have pictures, so we can add a picture to the show notes if you have room.
Okay.
And we'll put some links in the show notes. I think somebody posted a video even on YouTube, so you could go on YouTube and put in Lithuanian Hill of Crosses. But anyway, they estimate, I don't know how they came up with this, but they think there's about 55,000 crosses in 1990, and they think there's probably about over 100,000.
Wow.
But it was just an interesting, like I said, they don't really know why or how it started, but anyway, it's just somewhere people go now and leave a cross.
Okay.
And I've been thinking a lot about crosses lately, partly because I make the cross necklaces and stuff, and thinking about how some people are so put off by the symbol of the cross, and some people, it just means everything to them. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me, the cross as a symbol. And of course I learned that when I was trying to sell some and, at an event, and people were walking by and having a look, and Some people thought they were wonderful and wanted to buy some, and other people acted like I was
Selling
funny
the plague?
because it felt like, what?
Selling the plague?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say I felt like I was on the other side, like I was Satan or something. People were like, crosses, you know. Oh, no, I don't do those. I don't like those. And that's blah, 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 blah. It's like, all right, move along. But so it's interesting. I was met with about a 50-50 positive, negative response. So
Interesting.
anyway,
Okay.
it is interesting. Just got me thinking.
Okay. Well, shoot me a picture and I'll include it in the show notes.
Okay, you'll have to shave that way down.
I'm going to shave
This is
that way down.
ridiculous.
Yep.
You know, this is only 30 minutes to kill.
We just passed the 30-minute mark.
Dang it.
Bye.
Bye.
Traveling in a quadron Cambrai on a heavy trail at the La Zombie. Met a strange lady, she made me nervous. Took me in and gave me breakfast.